on air this evening. It is Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern, for a special JMC Live. We have on air with you Chelsea Schilling from WorldNet Daily, the commentary editor and staff writer for WorldNet Daily, the largest independent news service in the United States. And the most amazing thing has happened this week. There's going to be a 4-part story. The 3rd part was posted yesterday, today, and later tonight. You'll see probably the 4th part of this expose into what is the dark side of Facebook, what's going on in the social media world when it comes to pornography. I'm speaking specifically about child pornography, and what Chelsea's done is she's gone undercover, creating profiles, finding out how easy it is to access these friend pages, these groups, and just regular pages, and what is the dialect, the content, what is Facebook doing about it, what is our government doing about it, the FBI, so on and so forth. But without further ado, I want to welcome Chelsea to the line. Thank you for coming tonight.
Well, thank you for having me.
Reading your post recently and just looking through the history of what you've done at WorldNet Daily, I just want to thank you for not only your military service, but your expertise as a writer and as a journalist. You are a rare breed, I have to say.
That means a lot. That means a lot to us, and I really appreciate that type of feedback, because as you know, we probably get our fair share of hate mail every once in a while too, just due to the subjects that we cover.
Exactly. I know, being a former U.S. Coast Guardsman, you being in the Army, it's something prestigious to be able to speak with another veteran, but even better yet, talking to another journalist. This is a subject that touches the home for me, because being molested by actually a minister that I started to trust and invited to a friend's home, to getting involved with ministry and being on the other side of the spectrum and hearing kids and women and adults talking about leadership in various positions, police officers, doctors, lawyers, ministers, and teachers, and so on and so forth. People not realizing how the girl guy next door, it's that quick and simple to find people that are actually involved in this pedophilia. So the first question I have for you tonight is, what made you want to do this story, and how did you even go about getting this accomplished?
Well, my boss was actually down in Houston, and he met with this man down there, actually just randomly too, who has been waging this war for more than a year now with Facebook over this content. And they just struck up a conversation. Didn't know, that they'd have this to talk about, but at the time, his name is actually Rich Laporte, and he and Ray Bashard, who is the author of The Berlin Turnpike, it's a story about human trafficking in America, a true story. They both are working together, and they have this site called Stop Child Porn on Facebook.com. Most people don't know there's even child porn on Facebook, much less how long this battle has been going on. So they actually approached us and just to sort of express an interest in it, and he started talking with me about it and whether or not I'd be willing to take on this assignment, and we all agreed to go ahead and move forward with it because it needed some exposure. So you log into Facebook and you create a couple accounts with an email, of course, which is just about all they even ask for these days. That's all they ask for.
Something quite simple. So what was the next step? Just searching keywords and...
honestly, I went and I found sexy photos online. That's what they do. And in this situation, obviously, I wanted to get an adult photo. It's kind of a silly story because I used their posteriors. I didn't want to use anybody's face, and they were closed. But it actually worked. It got me in, and I had some credibility with these people, I guess. And I started friending them, and I checked their profiles. I found the right people because I found these common indicators of pedophilia interests, such as, they used the book Lolita, the movie 13, fan groups for incest, and yes, there are plenty of them on Facebook, PTHC, which is preteen hardcore pornography, and receiving nude pics. I found all of these different things in their profiles. It's what they use to identify themselves to one another so that you know who to friend and who you can trade these photos with.
Exactly. So as you continually started talking several months, several days with different profiles, pages, groups and so forth, you started building a relationship with some of these people, and I'd assume they started asking you to, as I call it, trading. They trade these pictures like baseball cards,
Absolutely.
like there's some kind of trophy. You want to explain a little bit about the psychological thinking of a pedophile on Facebook, and what is their goals and ultimatum of trying to do and coerce kids to do this?
Well, number one, they get validation. Think about it. If something is abnormal in your society, what do? And if that's who you are or who you think like and you're a pervert, what validates you more than finding a bunch of people just like you? So that's what they do. It's sort of a support group. They get their street cred from uploading these albums of their abuse. And that's the thing. The people really need to know, too, what type of photos these are. We're not talking about little cute naked babies like parents like to take pictures of and show everybody with their little bum naked. These are photos that many are uploaded to Facebook by cell phone of children who are naked. They're having sex, and in many cases, they're photographs or videotapes having sexual intercourse with adults. I came across plenty of those. I reported plenty of them to the FBI. They are out there, and one of the things I learned too from this whole process after I friended some of these people, I actually did whip out, and understandably, when they started trying to chat with me and all that sort of thing, I couldn't really get into that and entertain that too much because it was just so dark. So actually, it wasn't even that difficult, really. You find one of these guys, and you start looking through his friends list, and guess what his friends list is? It's a gold mine of pedophiles, just like them, interested in the same thing because they obviously want to find other people to trade photos with, so they friend them. And they had generally two types of friends that I found. Most of them have children in their profile pictures. Mm-hmm. Okay, so number one, they friend people just like them who abuse kids, as I said, and then they upload the photos and they trade it, and that's validation for their sexual deviancy. And then number two, the one thing that, people don't know or emphasize enough is that they friend America's underage kids on Facebook, randomly. They go through and they find these kids that don't know any better with accounts on Facebook. Some parents are giving their 10-year-olds accounts these days and allowing them to have them unsupervised. And they try to chat with these kids, they Skype with them, or try to get the kids to exchange nude photos or even meet with them in person. And in a few of the arrest cases, I've kind of combed through some of the FBI arrests, the ones that they post on their site and such, but there aren't a whole lot of them on the site, Facebook related, I gotta tell you. But when you go through them and stuff, a lot of times they're found because they're trying to meet these kids in person. And when they do have these interactions, if they're able to have a sexual encounter with these children, they take photos of them, and they use those photos to blackmail those kids into never telling anyone, because they say, we'll go to your parents, we'll go to your school, we'll show everybody these pictures. And so, there were more than a couple cases, actually, where the FBI caught people doing just that.
Exactly. The stories I've heard is they'll try and get them on an instant messenger, and now that you can have Skype on Facebook, what they're doing is getting these outside software programs, so these kids get online and they start chatting with them, and they have this program that records every single video that comes in, or they'll try and secretly have their cell phone or whatever off to the side and try and record it. They are sneaky and deceptive. That's why they're called predators, because they're purposely out here to try and find the children that are maybe not necessarily less fortunate, but feel less love or have something missing in their life. And these men and women will find the weakness of these children and exploit it, whether it's they want money or video games or cell phones or candy or something. They go to extremes to converse with these children and find their weaknesses and take advantage of them. That's why this is still going on, and it's creepy.
And one of the other things I think a lot of people don't realize, not only can they identify these kids because they look at your school that's listed. Some of these kids are listing middle schools and high schools and such like that, it makes it easy to find them. Mm-hmm. But also, they're actually hijacking other people's photos. So let's say you post a photo of a child in a bikini swimsuit or something, and you just, she's having a swim party with her friends and it's not a big deal, and you think it's not a big deal, but do you know how many of these photos I found posted on these pedophile sites? They literally steal these photos, they post them on their site, so you'll have, 4 or 5 little girls in bikinis standing around each other, and you think, okay, well, that's not porn. Well, it's not porn because it's your photo. But then if you look underneath it, those will get all sorts of shares. You'll have 15, 20 shares, you'll have 100 people liking it, and you'll have 30, 40, 50 comments underneath it talking about all the things that these men want to do to those little girls, or in some cases women.
Exactly. A story here in Ohio, it was kind of related to the Tara Tiara show, where there was like a local ballet for little kids, and this pedophile was busted that actually went to these events, took pictures of these children, and were uploading them on a website and talking about what they wanted to do sexually. And the mother actually got to see a picture, a screenshot of the unedited couple of comments, and she about vomited when she was interviewed on air on how horrific these men and women, it wasn't just men, women too, describing what they wanted to do to these little 4, 5, 6, 2-year-old girls and boys. It's something that people don't want to talk about. This is taboo. And looking at the Facebook response that was sent to you on WorldNet Daily, I realize it's like you said in some other interviews, it's kind of like a carbon copy. Well, here's what we have. We have, the photo DNA program. And it's just it's not being taken seriously enough. Although when you go and talk to the FBI, the CIA, the sheriffs, local police departments, Interpol, they're taking it more seriously. Images and profiles and websites are being shut down in 24 to 72 hours if things can be proven that these children are under the age 18. And like you just said, these are not your gray matter photos of nude children. There's no doubt without it. It's the Gerber baby, nude in a sexual position. I don't know if you saw the article I sent you today, but I thought you might want to comment on about what the New York court ruled today on child porn being okay to view on the internet, that you can't be criminally charged if you have gone to a website and it's in your internet cache. Did you see that yet?
Well, I have sort of glanced at it. I didn't have a chance to really go through it, but one of the thoughts that popped into my head was, how many things did I have in my cache for a while that I had to clear out? And if somebody doesn't know how to do that, when you come upon a photo in Facebook, and you don't expect it to be child porn, and it pops up on you, and you report it to the FBI or whatever, I'm hoping that nobody would ever prosecute you for having that in your cache if you don't know how to clear it.
Exactly.
But I also don't want the pedophiles to hide behind that, because you get people, they have 13,000 images on their computer, and you're going to let them off because these couple ones weren't saved to their hard drive. That's ridiculous. I don't want them hiding behind that.
Exactly.
And so one of the things that I know people do run across this stuff, because I was finding it all over Facebook, and the first thing you need to do is go straight to the FBI. We don't talk about it. We don't leave comments. We don't share it with people, and we shouldn't even close it out. We should go straight to ic3.gov and make sure that it's reported. And I say ic3.gov because you click on that whole report photo junk in Facebook, and I can pretty much promise you it will not come down within a few days, and it may not come down within a few weeks or ever. That's how much of a problem this is.
Exactly, and for our listeners today, as Chelsea's gone through this, several months, several days, the pages, the groups, these friends, the comments on the wall and on the pictures are days, months, and in some cases years old. And the dialogue is completely sexual. And like I was talking to other people today, I have a background in computer science, so I understand the key logging system, and I know that Facebook's now trying to minimize comments on how to say something friendly or whatever, and they're over here, deleting Christians and fighting things about Christ, but they can't control.
Yeah, it's irrelevant or inappropriate. That's what's
exactly, and then you see Carl Gallup's Facebook page get deleted and get restored finally today, and other headlines you can go on and look online of countless stories of Christian persecution on the internet. But when it comes to something, a Christian and a person that doesn't follow Christ, this is something we should all agree on. Across the board spectrum.
That's funny too, because you think about it, they're getting rid of comments that don't contribute in a quote-unquote positive way, whatever that is for Facebook, right?
Yes.
But they can't find the terms incest, as I was saying, kid sex, young PTHC, 10 to 17 boy sex, and I was saying F young girls and F young boys, and those are all things that I found when I was on there. And just so that you know, if you go, I'm sure people are going to start typing that in the search engine on Facebook, because that's just what they do when they hear those terms. But the thing is, these change sometimes because Facebook might pull it down. But one of the words I've seen that is almost always up there, and whether there's 3 of them or 10 of them or 12, I guess, sort of depends on the day, is incest. I've noticed that Facebook has a real problem with pulling the word incest. I mean, you could almost on any given day go in there and find the word incest. But here's the thing about it. It's not just, this abstract concept that they're letting slip by or whatever. When Facebook actually did contact me, and they were asking me, let's see all of your links that you've got. We want to see the ones we reported. And I responded to them. I'm like, well, I'd be happy to send you my entire list of links and reports to both you and IC3, which is the FBI. I don't mind that at all, but why do you want a bunch of dead links that I got pulled, by the FBI when I can give you all these live ones, that are still up right now, and I'm going to give you a very explicit description. I didn't even give him a description. Actually, I started copying the content. It was so bad. One of them was teacher gangbangs his 8 students. I mean, it was just so off the wall, bizarre, and bad. I just said, why do you want this old stuff? This stuff's up right now. How about you take care of that? And that was all on an incest page. And it wasn't just, it was stories about what people had done with family members, but there were also very vivid photos, even of underage kids, with their entire families, in foursome situations, videos, all sorts of stuff on that single profile. It's so easy to find. I found it within minutes of them contacting me. It wasn't a problem at all.
Exactly, and it's not just a geographical thing. Well, she's probably talking about something in a foreign country. We're talking about the United States.
No, one of the guys that I found, actually, one of his favorite activities was visiting the Sacramento Public Library, and I found several of them. Libraries seem to pop up in their activities quite often.
That was one of the big things when I was in Houston, Texas, and I was homeless. The pedophiles, because I looked like I was 19, 20 years of age, but I looked like I was 14, 15. I had police pull me over and protect me from a pedophile that just got out of prison, and he was out for like a year, and he went to jail for, I think it was an alcohol thing or whatever, but he pulled me off the side because he was trying to capture these kids in the library. This is the thing. Parks, libraries, other public places where children are present, playgrounds, they frequent these areas. And parents, I'm going to let Chelsea get into this a lot more than me, but you need to pay very close attention to the amount of exposure your child is getting from other people. And pay attention to where their cell phones are at. I mean, yeah, we live in a world now today where you don't hear the click, but if you're on a playground or somewhere else, you don't hear that click. You don't see the flash. And they're taking these photos. They're taking these audio recorders. They're doing these underskirt things and all this other stuff because they're trying to funnel and fuel the flame of their addiction. This is an addiction for them. Like we said earlier, it's like trading baseball cards. This is a world that most people don't hear. And me as a minister, I'm hearing it from the girl who's had 12 to 18 surgeries because her orifices were damaged from objects and sexual body parts and whatnot. And she was involved in a snuff film for 3 days where this other girl was killed, and they're still at large.
Right,
I mean, this is stuff that happens. It's not, a non-reality. So I want to ask you, what actions do you want parents to take? I know we can go to the website and fill out a lot of petitions that can go directly to everyone on Facebook and can go to your senators. But I want to start with, what is your advice to the parents and family members of these kids?
My advice to the parent, and this is advice, I know some people don't like unsolicited advice about how they should raise their children, but I'm going to tell you right now, if your child is underage, and I know the law actually says that they're supposed to be over 13 when they go on Facebook. Well, that's not the case. Parents are letting their kids, 10 years old, have Facebook profiles, and 13 is too young. It's way too young. I don't care if your child is 16, actually. If she's 16 or he's 16, you need to know what's going on in that profile if you're going to allow them to have a Facebook profile. You need to monitor it. You need to make sure that they don't friend people outside of their social circle and their family, and they don't accept these unsolicited friendships from these potential pedophiles. Why would somebody come out of the blue to start contacting you? It happens all the time on Facebook. They can't be accepting this stuff. They need to know what's out there, what can happen open to them. And the other issue is, too, parents really should start putting some pressure on Facebook to take some preventative measures on this issue because, law enforcement can only do so much. They get their reports, and they handle the reports one by one, and I haven't had too much of a problem with that. But Facebook, if they're not handing that stuff off to law enforcement when they do get reports and find this stuff, or they're shutting down accounts like they were with mine. They shut down 3 of my alias accounts when I did this just because I had reported several, child pornographic images immediately. And right after I did it, they shut my accounts down. It became futile, very frustrating. But Facebook needs to be held accountable, and that's what we're trying to do. You can find, all those action links, even contacting your lawmakers or signing the petition or going to StopChildPornOnFacebook.com. All of those links are at the bottom of every one of my reports in the 4-part series. So it doesn't matter which one you click on. You scroll to the bottom, or you read through, or you scroll to the end of the story, and you'll see all of those links. So it's all a one-stop shop there. You won't have a problem getting to it.
Exactly. That's StopChildPornOnFacebook.com. I mean, we have this attack going on Facebook. We have Groupon with their kink, S&M stuff. This is across-the-board attack on the innocence of children and the innocence of Christians across the globe, because this is about protecting the sanctity of our sexuality. And more so, as a Christian, this isn't something we should be for. We should be completely against, and we should take these steps. I mean, yeah, there's a little money involved in some cases, but you can pick up the phone and call your local senator. You can contact Facebook. And for the parents out there, express to your children, or let them watch this video, and express to them that we as ministers and law enforcement and reporters, we're not wanting to tell you what to do, but we're wanting to give you advice on how to help your kids and children that are listening to this program. I want you to realize that this isn't about not trusting you. This is about the people out there who want to hurt you. Because that's what this comes down to. There are people in this world that are completely evil. There is no reprogramming their brain. There are some people out there, it doesn't matter if they go to jail or prison, have their legs chopped off or whatever, they are still going to want to do these things no matter what, because sin is in the world, and we have to learn how to live in this world.
And it's also very important that, parents and whoever is listening to this to also understand that, I didn't find 3 pedophiles here. Just to give you an idea of the scope, in a 2-week period, I probably reported, at least 50 photos. And I'm talking about explicit stuff that there were just, if anybody else saw it, there would be no argument over whether or not it was child porn. And I've been doing this for several weeks, so I kept going, and I was having a lot of the same problems where, maybe a profile might be removed, maybe a photo might be removed from a suspect profile, but the profile still stayed up. And of course, they're uploading other stuff to it, or they take the photo and, they go to a different profile, and it's so easy to create a new one, and they're popping up everywhere. But the thing is, it's a gold mine. It's a pedophile gold mine. When you go to their friend list, these people will have 300, 400 subscribers to their page because these people want to know when they load new material. So they have all these subscribers to their pages and friends and such that it's very easy to find people just like them. It's just, it makes no sense that Facebook can't root this out because there they are. You find one, you find them all, and you just follow the trail. That's what I did. You follow the trail. You find one pedophile, you get his whole list of friends, and you've got, dozens, if not hundreds of pedophiles there. And all you have to do is go to another one of those pedophiles in that list, and you'll find a bunch more pedophiles. And yes, there is confirmation that they're pedophiles because all you have to do is click on their photo albums to confirm it. Exactly.
They are, I guess you could use the word, they're so brainwashed into this pedophilia that that's what consumes their mind all the day. And they feel so justified in their behavior. I mean, yeah, there's some out there that are like the sheep and wolves, the wolf and sheep clothing situation, like the teachers and like the minister in my case, where nobody knew anything. But these guys, girls, they're completely unashamed, and in some cases, like the NAMBLA groups and the other groups that exist right now, where they're trying to legalize this in different countries and trying to legalize lowering the age of sexual consent in America, where they're trying to justify and say, I honestly do love this 9-year-old girl. And I know I'm 42, but I want to marry her. They're actually saying this dialogue and they've gone up to Congress. They've gone to Washington, D.C. and had rallies. And across the United States and the globe, they are trying to redefine what truth means and what, a relationship should look like and sexuality. All because what they feel and think. What is the moral dilemma in America? When is this line going to be definitively drawn in concrete?
Yeah, no, it's very sickening. It's a huge problem, and one of the problems that I've kind of faced with this whole issue, we didn't have a whole lot of critics on this. We had actually an overwhelming support from just the public in general, and even from left-leaning organizations. The Huffington Post actually even took this and ran with it rather than criticizing us for running it or demeaning us in any way.
Mm-hmm.
But we did, we got a great outpouring of support from lots of different people. But, there are people out there who think, well, what are you doing? And they start questioning your motives, and one of the things I got was, well, this is really uncomfortable stuff. I prefer that you didn't make me have to look at this or read this. And first off, we put a warning at the very top to let people know that this is explicit content and don't keep reading, basically if you can't stomach it, which is understandable. But, you can't use that argument that this is just too uncomfortable to talk about, because what's at stake is our children. I mean, these are our kids. If we don't talk about it and this is a problem and our kids don't know these threats are out there, then you're setting them up for victimization. This is a problem that Facebook will get away with not doing anything about if we don't hold them responsible for allowing groups like incest and PTHC and such to exist. If we don't hold them accountable for this, they'll get away with it, and the pedophiles, it will get worse and worse because they will get more brazen as they're allowed to do the things that they're doing on Facebook, and the problem is going to get worse if we don't talk about it. So discomfort is not a reason not to bring this up and have this discussion.
Yeah, you're completely correct on that, because from the ministry side, we're called to get out of our comfort zone and confront our personal inventory in our lives, and then when you're supposed to work hand in hand with other Christians, confessing your sins to one another. And this is something we need to talk about. It is a sin that we may not necessarily have on ourselves, but I've noticed it. I've learned it from the ministry I've been involved with, to the college stuff I've done, and college stuff you've done as well. It's a synonymous word of, historically, we in America and across the globe, when we have something we do not feel comfortable about, it's just some weird automatic impulse reaction or trained thought passed down generation to generation to just not do anything. We don't need to...
If this does disgust us, we really do need to do something about
exactly,
it.
like in my case. My case was when I was molested by the minister, I was told not to talk about it. And that was 1997, 98. That wasn't too long ago. And these are the kinds of things that needs to stop. If we're going to expose the darkness for what it truly is, what the Bible talks about, and bring truth as a double-edged sword, we have to become bold. We have to become educated. I'm curious, what is the next step? I know you have another article coming out. You want to give us a little highlight on what's coming?
Actually, the other article that we're talking about is either up right now or is being posted right this second, one or the other. But this is actually sort of outcry about this whole mess. I mean, we've got people who, I'm sure you're aware of who Dr. Judith Reisman is.
Mm-hmm.
She spoke up on this and what needs to be done. But we also I spoke with Patrick Truman. He's a former chief of the Child Exploitation and Obscenity section of the U.S. Department of Justice.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's really had his hands in this sort of thing. He knows all about bringing child rapists and pornographers to justice. And he's now president of Morality in Media. And he's basically saying, one of his lines to me was, it's welcome news that a major news organization has notified the public about Facebook's use by pedophiles. But I don't believe it's news at Facebook's headquarters. And so he sort of gets in there and starts talking about how this stuff has been normalized and allowed, and the DOJ isn't doing enough to pursue it anymore. Mm-hmm. And that's the reason why it's become a haven. Mm-hmm. We also have interviews. We spoke with Dawn Hawkins of Morality Media, and she actually confirmed that this is a real problem, because she said that Morality in Media, they have their own Facebook page, And in the last month, she said about 5 to 10 people keep joining their page every day who have these child pornography photos in their profile pictures, you know, and many more people join with adult pornography as their profile pictures. She says they always report them to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children in the cyber tip line, but they noticed that, especially last week when they started keeping track of this, that many of the photos were not being taken down right away. You know, it's this huge task that law enforcement has to deal with, and I don't know whether it's not that they can handle all of these reports, or if the reports are going up, or what's happening with that, but they are outnumbered, definitely. And we also have Dr. Judith Reisman, or Reisman, I'm sorry, I always mispronounce that, but she's also sort of taken them to task, and she says, you know, there aren't any real controls at Facebook because they haven't considered it to be a priority, and until people start considering protecting kids to be a priority and throwing people in jail when they don't, when they do this sort of thing, you know, that's what would slow this down. Otherwise, it's not going away. And she also confirmed that, you know, these groups like the F Young Girls and F Young Boys type groups are validation. That's exactly what that's doing. It's making things more normal for these pedophiles so that they can continue doing what they're doing and feel very comfortable about it. We spoke with the American Family Association, and we talked about lots of different issues with them. And they said, you know, they're sort of happy with how Facebook is actually trying to remove some images in some cases, but they said if we're able to uncover these images or individuals and groups with really basic investigative techniques, then surely Facebook can too. You know, they don't have the argument of, oh, we don't have the resources to take care of all this. Not if somebody who's never done this before. If I go in and start pulling stuff down and handing it to them like crazy, you don't really have much of an excuse for not being able to do it. We spoke with Stacey Lynn Hart. She's with Active Christian Media, and she has a master's degree in clinical psychology, and she practiced as a marriage and family therapist for almost 10 years. She's got some great input on how her own situation where she tried to get Google, I guess they were having various man-boy love blogs that were being promoted on their internet blogging platform. And in 2006, she went to war with Google trying to get them to take that stuff down. And so she's very familiar with this whole war against this child pornography situation. And she talks about how we really need to consider the protection of innocence in these children, and especially if large corporations, you know, they refuse to listen to their customers. We've got to really start working on helping professions, therapists, counselors, nurses become more informed about how to protect the kids from falling into these deviant perverts' hands, she puts it. And so, you know, we also talk about how the story is spreading. As I said, it's on both sides of the aisle, right and left are both picking this up. That's great news. This is not a political topic. And people are expressing outrage over this whole thing. We have USA Today, London Telegraph, London Daily Mail, Huffington Post, One News Now. We had Matt Drudge post our first part of our series, and it garnered about 1.5 million hits off of that. It's hitting TV and radio airwaves now, and so it's actually growing, and we really, I think, have to get the word out so people know this is going on and doesn't just die out without Facebook trying, or at least, you know, promising to do something and showing some action on their part, especially with their IPO in play.
Exactly. I mean, this IPO coming out with the public stock, this is the opportunity for people like you and I to continually go to this website, stop pouring on Facebook, and write these people personally. I mean,
and the banks who underwrite the
the list goes on and on.
Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, they need to know exactly what they're investing in when they invest in Facebook, and when they sell those stocks to their investors as well. They need to know exactly what's going on, what's at stake, and this, in my mind, really should be listed as a risk factor on Facebook's S1 filing. I've discussed that with the SEC, and it's not on the S1 filing right now, which is, you know, the form that they file. They have to disclose all of their risks as a company when they go public. And if child pornography on your website is not a risk, then what is? I mean, look what it did to MySpace.
Exactly.
It's a huge problem, and it could really cut into your investments.
Exactly. And this is why it's so important, because these investors, you want to invest in this, invest in upgrading the software. Invest in protecting the future of America and the rest of the globe. This is a global-wide thing. They're trying to get Facebook in even more countries. They're trying to translate it into more languages, so where this is all over the globe. That is their ultimate goal. 100%, every country, they want Facebook. I mean, it's a Bible translator's dream.
And it's an internet medium, because everybody says, oh, well, you know, you'll find child pornography and pornography all over the internet. Well, think about it. This is a pedophile's playground, and it's a child's playground. And they commingle on Facebook. Mm-hmm. It's popular for both of them. And where else can you find pedophiles and children on the same site together where it's so easy to friend them and get them, suck them into this, you know, and exchange your own photos with other pedophiles?
Exactly. We need to continue the integrity and actually stand up and man up as men and women and set the example, show true character, and nip this in the bud pretty much. You know, stomp it out. Do what we can. I know the stats and the figures of, well, you know, it's only going to slow it down. I'd rather slow it down as much as we can than not do anything at all, because sitting back here, not going to this website, StopPornOnFacebook.com. If you don't go to this website or go to Porn Harms or something, get involved in the World Net Daily articles, share them, share this video, find out what's going on, educate your children, educate your students, your family and your friends, and continue to do this. I'd like to thank you, Chelsea, for coming today. It's been just an amazing power day.
Last thing I wanted to say before I leave too is I also encourage people, you know, you can repost our stories, not in full, that's not our policy, but you know, if you take a quarter of the article, or even however many paragraphs you want to use, you know, 5, whatever, just we ask that you don't post it in its entirety, but you can link back to us. And the more you spread the word on this, the better. So blogs, news sites, you know, just really encourage them to spread the word so people know what's going on.
All right. Well, thank you very much for coming. I hope you have a good evening and keep up the great work.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, that was Chelsea, guys. This has been an amazing evening. We will have the all the links for all of the 4 stories. Like she said, the last one is being posted as the show went on air. It should be automatically posted probably before this goes off. We'll have all 4 stories. We'll have the Facebook response. We'll have the link to the website on how you can get help, how you can fill out the petition, and there'll be more coming soon. We'll cover more of this issue on Saturday's JMC Live. Thank you for coming tonight for the special edition interview with Chelsea of World Net Daily. God bless, and we'll see you soon.